there's less lag in between an idea and probably an implementation.
You can kill an idea within a couple of days, or you grow it, right? You don't have these months of spending time. And let's see if it gets traction, the lack of support they actually have. I know it's spoken about a lot, but there's actually a lack of support that is so unbelievably low. And the type of support, albeit people are doing their best, but coaching's not going to work. It works for certain projects. You find yourself in a big arena with business gurus that need to go all weekend, all this. They're fine things, but they're not the catalyst for real growth. And what
Welcome to the DevReady Podcast. Joining me on the DevReady Podcast today, I have Tim Krotiris. Tim, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, great to be here, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and we'll jump into Backable and a bit of your background first. But just for people that don't know how the podcast runs, I've never actually met Tim before, so because I don't know anything about him, I'll let him take away an introduction and let him tell us who he is.
Yeah, well, thanks, Anthony. I think maybe the most interesting thing, I started my first business when I was 16 and then realised you probably need to be a little older to legally start a business. So that was an interesting experience. But I think I've been employed about 3 months of my entire life. So we've been building and selling businesses for the last 20 odd years, and sort of all roads have led to what we're doing now, which is we've built an AI called Backable, which is obviously the thing everyone's talking about at the moment. We actually started our development of our AI about 10 years ago. So before it was
The buzzword.
thing. So yeah, we've been playing in this space a little while now, and there's an irony of it, because I think the technology that we're building around our business is probably going to make our original business pretty much redundant in the next few months. So it's an interesting little paradox we've got going.
It's a good way to build something where you know you're improving it, that you can put yourself out of work.
Yeah, it's frightening, but also exciting. I mean, you'd know it too, right?
Yep.
It's just it's an interesting time in human evolution.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do that you couldn't do before, and the amount of time it takes you to do certain things is ridiculous. It's probably the best word to use.
Yeah. I know some scares some people, but the depth of exploration you can have now into things and understanding, I mean, it's mind blowing and exciting, but equally a time of great human change.
It is. So jumping back a bit into the past before this AI buzzword, what was that? What did you start at 16?
Oh, funnily enough, I was at the time starting I was doing martial arts and all that, and I wanted to be a promoter.
Okay.
And it was I was too early to become a promoter. I actually found myself in a room one day with looking around and going, I think these guys are gangsters, and I think they want to do business. This is not me. But it was just always wanting to, rather than do traditional jobs and all that, I was working like any sort of 16-year-old kid would, trying to earn some money, just a smarter way. And I wanted to promote these martial arts events and do this and all that sort of stuff. So it was good at the time, but you'd know it from starting your own business, leaving uni, the lessons you get are life lessons, not business lessons. And they've carried through to, 25 years down the track now. It's really interesting. See how much you learned back then that still holds true.
So what's sort of some of the stuff that you started before you got into the business that's behind Backable and the learnings?
Well, we had the promotions going there. I owned a few gyms back in the day, so we were opening personal training studios before group training was a thing. We were sort of building these, funnily enough, in the martial arts theme, teaching people group training, doing kickboxing and stuff like that. And we got sort of 3 sites there and sold them. We were dabbling in sort of property development at some stage then, and then I went and tried to learn property and work for one of the big developers. That didn't last too long because I actually really enjoyed it, and I was worried I'd get stuck there for 20 years, so I went and quit as soon as I started enjoying it, because I knew that wasn't my path. We had an apparel brand there for a while, so we're doing high-end sports apparel at the time, which was really interesting learning in that industry. Then met my girlfriend, now wife, and we had marketing companies, we had social media agencies, and we're involved in a whole lot of other businesses, which is our core business. Sort of 10 years ago, we started with Philotimo, which is a Greek word for all the Greek listeners out there, which means honour people, do the right thing by people. And we were helping SME owners grow their businesses, and part of that was getting involved when we got to a certain point and partnering and helping scale businesses. So we've actually got quite a diverse portfolio of things we've been involved with, but this is my core love now. This business is very interesting.
So helping businesses. So people may think that more aligned like a business consultant, helping probably with growth and strategy and marketing.
Well, my experience, Anthony, was, when I was building businesses on my own, they're all self-funded. And I just felt that it was weird. I had such a diverse friends building businesses, some that got traditional jobs. And I realized that like most small business owners they don't realize the lack of support they actually have. I know it's spoken about a lot, but there's actually a lack of support that is just so unbelievably low. And the type of support, albeit people are doing their best, but coaching's not going to work. It works for certain projects, it works for things, or if you find yourself in a big arena with, business gurus that need to go all weekend, all this, they're fine things, but they're not the catalyst for real growth and what the real people building companies, what they're doing behind the scenes, right? And so it was part of this obsession was, well, how do we felt there wasn't the right support out there. And we were lucky enough to have some very close friends that helped us with advice and things we did that were experienced in business, and our businesses took off knowing this, and most people wouldn't be exposed to this. So we were going, well, how do we provide this? How do we rebuild how advisory and support is for small businesses? And that sort of set us off on this 10-year journey of how would we completely change the way we support business owners? What would they need? How do you give them 24/7 support? How do you give them the world's best intelligence when it doesn't exist? And this was the problem we were trying to solve 10 years ago. And funnily enough, I mean, this leads into Backable, but we actually got it wrong because I thought it would end up in a machine learning type thing. So we started 10 years ago with Philotimo, which was the consulting business. And we thought the best way to rebuild what we thought consulting needed to be was actually set up a business that did it and actually do it as a research project. Map everything, look at everything, record everything, every conversation, every piece of data. Why did some people work? Why did it? What are the variables between, all this sort of stuff? And we thought machine learning and we put algorithms would eventually create an intelligence. And we were wrong, because then the LLMs and the AI was released to the public, and everything we'd been doing up to that point just went to another level because the intelligence was structured. We had really interesting data sets. We had really interesting experience. And then Backable was born, which is our product. Yeah.
Going back at that point in 2015, that was the path for AI. So that's what I call like traditional AI. So people that are listening, they think AI like 2023 ChatGPT came out and it's AI, but AI has been around. The term's been like around for 50 years.
Yeah.
The 1970s, and it is neural networks like what you hear with the Terminator, and then machine learning is what really like the large language models run under the hood. So what you would have been trying to do was push data through into models, get it to then say, if I get this data, this is an expected output or a potential direction or a task to move forward with, I'm guessing.
100%, and using mathematics to do some more predictive behavior analysis on this, right? And it all sounds real fancy at the time, but really it was like, why do some business owners do well and others don't, where seemingly they have the same opportunity and same advice, but they've got such varying different results? And we saw that even here in our traditional consultants. Like some people are buying their dream cars and other people are struggling to still pay their BAS type stuff. So for us, like, what is the variation? What are the factors we don't look? How do we map every one of them so we can see trends? And we got really obsessed with that, maybe overly obsessed, to be honest, at the time. But it's just because it didn't make sense to me. It's like, why have we got such high failure rates for business owners? Why do some scale at 5% and others are doing 100% a year? There's so many interesting things. And exactly what you said, there's mathematically behind it. There are indicators, but what are the variables? And that was sort of this whole obsession.
Were you in tech before when you thought about putting it together that way? Or is
No.
it just you did some research and understood like this is the direction?
No, I got obsessed with the problem, to be honest. I'm like,
Okay.
why doesn't this exist? I'm like, I'm sitting there and go, why do business owners not have the same opportunities that the big companies have? Why are there these consulting companies around the world that work with big business when you get to privately owned small businesses? It doesn't exist. There's no global brand for it. Why isn't the same support delivered? And you realize when you look into it that it's hard. They're just different businesses. It's highly segmented. There's lots of different variables. So how do we sort of rebuild what we think advisory is needed for the client? And that was our obsession. Then you naturally learn. So I started, some coding courses online in my spare time over summer. When we have a summer break, I'd be sitting there just learning. And I'm not ignorant. I understand it, but my coders here surpass me 100-fold, right? So you've got some cleverest guys in the world, and they're looking at these things like I'm sitting there and I'm amazed. I feel like I'm watching magicians do it. But the obsession was fixing the problem, and I'm sure you've had that experience with your clients too. I think you've got to fall in love with the problem you're trying to solve, and the rest of learning becomes enjoyable. And that's sort of I think my pathway is like I I love looking at code now, which I would have, if you asked me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, what is wrong with you? Like, what went wrong? But I love it because it tells this beautiful story and the logic of how it's thinking and then why it. And to me, I just actually find that quite relaxing now, which is it's just weird saying it out loud. But yeah, no, I'm as non-tech founder as you could imagine, but I'm certainly not ignorant as I was.
Yeah, but you've picked up some skills. You've got some understanding. You could probably you can value what's being written now. Where before, if you hadn't taken some of those courses and got involved with it, you wouldn't have any clue what it means.
100%.
It's just another language, and it's going over your head.
Yeah, and I know there are tools out now where everyone's getting excited because they can all code. This vibe coding, but there's different levels of it. There's a superficial level of doing it, but actually, when you dig down into intelligence, like we see all this AI stuff, but they're actually just wrappers around some of the LLMs. I don't think that there's a big longevity around those. I think you actually have to really put some thinking behind what's under the hood. And to me, that's where the obsession comes, because there's so many wonderful things you can play with on your own. I mean, there's no barrier now. If you want to learn, it'll teach you, right? You can sit there and actually self-educate. So to me, that's why it's such an exciting time for us all.
It's definitely exciting, and no one knows really where it's going to go or how it's going to enable everyone to do things. But like on their vibe coding, everyone can write code just by telling it what to do, but it doesn't mean it's going to do the right thing. My way of saying it is it just helps you do the wrong thing faster, especially if you don't know how to plan and get the right outcome. Yeah. And the code that comes back, you may have amazing code in one part and then really shit code in another bit, and you're going to get more of that than you are going to get good code, but it'll work for like the happy path, as we say.
100%, and you'd know better than anyone. It's when you start getting the depth of a platform or something, and there's complexity there, you actually do need to understand why it's thinking like that. And we were laughing at the other day. It's like managing or working with part of your team or employees. You actually have to understand its thinking and its methodology and why and its reasoning, because it's got its own personality now. And that's been a really interesting path, especially in the last 6 months, where I think it's taken a giant leap. But it's the nuance now is becoming obvious.
Yeah, and then that power comes to everyone. It's not like what you were trying to do 10 years ago, starting with your own models and bringing your own algorithms and logic to bring it all together. It's everyone has that power. So what was that pivot like for you when that, probably, I think it was November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT was launched. You probably played with it for a few months into 2023. And then was there a moment saying, shit, we got to just like scrap that and then build with this? Or what did that look like?
I mean, we run a pretty good business, don't get me wrong. Like the actual, the research business, Philotimo, this consulting business, is a good standalone business. It runs itself. That was the purpose of it, to make it something that could support our tech. But, in that sort of that November period and starting to play with some of the models and asking questions, it was so obvious quickly that it was almost I remember sitting there and just sort of sitting and trying to comprehend. It was early on, but you could just see that everything we were doing would be irrelevant in the way we were doing it. Not the intelligence and the support and the problem, but
like the implementation.
We have to start thinking differently, and we had to do that. And I think we were lucky because we were looking for a solution for 10 years and building. It was just whether that we thought initially, has that made all our work redundant? And the answer was no, actually, it's an accelerator and an enhancer for it. Yep. And this is an exciting moment for us. We actually now have to fully commit to our purpose and our value of what we've been trying to solve. And for us, that's accelerated again to another level. Like we upped our team. We've got many more people in here, but we're hiring differently because we're bringing in different skill sets, and we're learning every day, and everyone in the world's learning every day, because these things are moving so quickly that, it's this entrepreneurial, I guess, spirit now that we have to be thinking about, well, it is this today, but who knows tomorrow, and adapt to that, not be frustrated by it.
Yeah, and those probably the roles you're doing differently. No need as many like data scientists, unless you're still pursuing, which probably would have been your biggest talent pool in that area with the previous model.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got the data science sort of guys here, because we're looking through now in different areas in what we were applying the data to and how it's going out in results, and what else can we see, and how do we start building on building. But if we could have one bucket of water, that's what we used to look at. Now we're looking at 10,000 at once, and it's just the richness and complexity, because Backable's quite a difficult challenge, because we've got to adapt the smartest advisory brain to an individual person. So we're not just looking at business principles, they're easy. It is, what is the variables around available cash flow, their personality type, their team size, their location, the weather. There's like, it looks through so many things we would have never looked at. We had this beautiful sort of moment when you talk about the wow moments, and we were analyzing some data on our own business, and it picked this one survey we did early in our onboarding with a client, and it worked out this combination of answers had a lifetime value of that client of 1.5 years longer. And then it rebuilt how our pricing should be to get people there so they would be retained. It wasn't even what we were looking for, but there's no chance we would have ever looked at that. We've got really clever consultants and advisors here. There's no chance that they're looking at that ever. And it just, to sit there, and it blew my mind. I know you've had those moments as well, but I just sit there and we can't compete with those smarts anymore. We have to work out how to work with it. And, we're excited now because we can apply that intelligence to every business owner. That's our excitement about our product.
As a business owner, before AI, you had to be very careful where you spent your time because there's no way to accelerate anything. Yeah. At the moment, you can accelerate a lot of things, but I think you still have to be just as careful because you can waste more time probably trying 100 different things, but never closing any of them off as well. Because especially with ChatGPT sitting there.
Yeah, well, it's the premise of our whole, where we sit rather than a ChatGPT is this thing's got to think for you. So as a business owner, it's sitting there going, here are the people I have to meet. I've already contacted them. Here are the events I got to go to. I've already applied to go to them. Here's my strategic plan. I've adapted it this quarter based on your last results. So you move from a business owner needing to enact things to make decisions on data that's already been thought about and then given options. For me, that was the ultimate point that we want to get to. As an owner, I want to behave like a CEO instead of spending all my time trying to gather incomplete information, think about it, get opinions, ask again, then challenge myself because I'm like, oh, do I actually know? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it too risky? Yep. I want all that taken out of. And that was our obsession. And, I'm surprised we're even conversation here going, we built that. It's like no business owner, it blows my mind. It's like, you're not using this, you're so far behind. It's exciting for me.
Yeah, and that passion comes through in the way you're talking about and how passionate you are about the way you're describing it and where that problem came from. And like you said, it's all about the problem. You don't build something looking to have a market for it. You have to solve a problem. And I think that's what a lot of people like. You must deal with a lot of businesses and startups in the consulting as well. They have an idea or they're building an app. How many of them have actually thought about what are they trying to build? Not just I had an idea and I put it together and now I'm trying to figure out who's going to buy it.
100%. We had a guy just this morning actually, and he's built this amazing. It's for agencies, and it basically analyzes and helps them build a full brand. So people are just into it, they haven't done it. So it goes through this whole thing and builds you a brand document. I remember paying 30, 40, 50 grand for these things. And it's doing it at that level for, next to nothing. And it's so intelligent. It's just those things of they wanted to do better at their craft and more people allowed be able to use it and get a high quality. It's like these are passion projects backed by smart people, but they're going to change the way we can operate. And that's a very exciting thing. And I think for a lot of our clients, it's the same thing as what is the core problem we wanted to solve when we started this business? Now, how do we advance it? Going to guys like you and go, hey, I've got this idea. I've got no idea where to start. What do I do? We were silly enough to try and do it ourselves, but to actually have, companies like this you can go to and go, right, this is what we've been doing. This is where we think we can build a product. We're getting some really great stuff coming in from people knowing what we've been doing, going, hey, I want to do this. It's just an exciting time to be entrepreneurial because you've got an opportunity to really accelerate your core reason for doing a business.
Yeah, it's definitely is exciting because there's changes that are happening every week, every day, especially in the AI space. Like there's new models released every week. There's the newest, best model that does something different that's 3% better than the one last year. And then there's all these other things that are coming out. But having those like vibe coding tools does help people move a lot faster as well because you can do a lot more prototyping quite quickly. So you can at least get something out, show it to people rather than this is an idea and just talking about it. Most people are visual. So as soon as they can see something, it's a little bit easier to talk about and then understand what you're actually talking about. Not just, this is my idea, talk it out loud, share the napkin that you drew the little sketch on. And like, it doesn't get all the ideas across. So I think that's the exciting time is the ideation can happen a lot faster. But then again, like the general business stuff doesn't change.
No, you're 100%. The principles are there, right?
Yep.
So you got an experience that we had when we were sort of a year ago when we were really accelerating what we were doing with Backable. We just had a new little baby, my wife and I, which co-founded the company. I was sitting in at night vibe coding stuff just to give ideas of what I wanted to build because I had no idea how to translate what we'd done, what I wanted, but I could have never done that. You know, you got a young baby, you've got this, you're still working the core business, there's all this stuff, but you can actually bring the next day a prototype, go to smart people, and go, this is what I'm trying to do. What do I need to do? Or, you know, work it out. And I just think of that and go, well, there's no chance in any other stage in history you'd be able to go at such speed. Like I was essentially building the prototype of what I wanted. Then I need smart people to fix it because it's never going to work. But it's to be able to translate that as the owner, as the entrepreneur, as the person trying to do that without, I love there's no filter anymore, but between here's what I want, here's what's coming out, and then taking that to how do we make this a thing? Which, I'm sure you're inundated with that sort of problem.
Have you seen that's probably been one of the biggest changes in the way you're operating the business now? It's that there's less lag in between an idea and probably an implementation.
Yeah. I mean, you'd see it too. You either you can kill an idea within a couple of days, or you grow it, right? You don't have these months of spending time and discussions like, let's see if it gets traction, pivot or kill it. We're trying to work on that sort of feature cycle of in 2 days, if we don't have the traction in the feature, kill it. And it's a little bit ridiculous, but also it's probably not, as in when as you're going, because this is the speed in which the world's going to move, and it's intimidating at times because it's quick.
It is. And now that you've got the product out, you've launched it in the market, how are you taking in sort of that like feedback loop from your users and your clients?
Actually, in a number of ways. Directly from the bot that's built in there. So actually conversations we ask it to have, because we look at it as you're a member of Backable, even though you're given one of these extraordinary intelligences as your business partner. So it'll talk and we'll gather feedback, but also we're very meticulous in data points and behavior analysis behind the scenes. So we're running some really deep insight where we're looking at trends, why, behavioral patterns, so we can make it better from a use case. Because we also have the other problem, which is we had in here is we don't want people to use it too much. And I realize, every investor out there is thinking, you idiot, you want them to use it, be addicted to it. No. Business owners are busy. If they're sitting on talking to it too much, they're not doing the doing. And we got to make sure there's what is the happy balance for high performance of someone using our app versus trying to get people addicted and gamified where they won't go off it. That defeats the purpose of our core purpose, is help business owners grow their business, not become addicted to an app.
Yeah, you're meant to provide value. If they can come back to it every day, that's them using it a lot, not using it once and never looking at it again, or staying on it all day and then not doing what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. And I suppose these are the things we've all got to balance now of what are we actually really trying to do? Are we trying to build something for money, or are we trying to solve a problem? And for us, we still feel like we're deeply trying to solve a problem, give business owners their shot at their dream.
Yep.
And that's our core message, because we think we can affect that. And so it's an exciting time.
It is, and that's a noble cause to help people achieve their dreams, just by giving them that little support that either they don't know they need or they don't have the time for, because they're working in the business too much rather than on the business.
Yeah. Well, we're in the same game, right? It's the money's great to make money and do all that, and we have to because it's practical. But changing people, giving them a shot, giving them a different trajectory in life because they've unlocked something or you've supported them in that. Like just the clients over the last 10 years, people they're living different lives for them and their family, and they couldn't comprehend that they could be like that because they were the stressed business owner, had no one to talk to. They had all this, and now they're sitting there going, I literally can speak to the smartest thing on the entire planet that knows me inside out, knows my dreams, my vision, and aligns everything to it. It's a great new world for a business owner. There's no longer the 3 a.m. there by yourself looking up at the ceiling, because I can just ask and it'll be solved in the morning, or I'll have
you'll have a plan or a discussion.
Yeah, that excites me because I went through that stress. I used to have hair one day. This is when you open too many businesses and you're not so smart at times, you lose your hair, right? You look good.
Too, don't worry.
No, you worked it out. But me, I'm not so lucky.
It's having support. Because like you said at the start, most people feel like they're alone. They're not there. I think a lot of that comes down to as well, you have to put on a bit of a persona when you're talking to people. It's everyone's, your business is good, but you're not going to go over into details with random people. You're not going to tell them what's actually happening. That doesn't happen anywhere.
No, I cry myself to sleep every night. And, what would we tell people? You would have had times, Anthony, where you sit there and go, why have I done this? What am I doing? What do I do next? Like problems, like every day we've got to solve a problem we've never solved before. it's stressful. There's high failure rates, that you're alone. Our tagline is never alone, always ahead, for that reason, because the core issue we think we can solve is at least help people not be lonely. And it's never easy for a business. And not one business owner I've ever known that's going, I was on the brink of disaster at stages, if not. But that's the game we are, right? Because we're pushing the boundary of what we think we can do or the life we want to live. And it's just having the support at that moment where you're most vulnerable, just to know there's someone there, just someone who knows you, someone who understands you, someone who gets you, not just from the business, but actually what you want in life. And that's the key thing I think that I'm most excited about, because this is not about building businesses. It's about building the business you want for the life you want. And if we can have those two things combined, which is what we've been able to achieve, it's a different world for you. At least when you're going through it, you know the reason. And to me, that's the exciting thing, right? People just do what you want, do your dream, live it, build it. Here's some support.
So just before we wrap up, what are some sort of like the key learnings that you've had over the journey then that would either help a business listening in or think, all right, that's something I could probably shift my mind on and do something a bit different?
Yeah. Well, I'll be blunt. Fall in love with your business every day again, even when the shit hits the fan. You got to love the problem you want to solve, and you got to fall back in love with your customer. Because at times it's easy to go, I just hate my customer, I just hate this business, or I just hate what I've done, right? So it's this thing of being, if your business isn't going the way you want, it's not because you're doing things wrong, it's a moment in that business life cycle. You've got to hold your passion for what you're doing, you've got to hold that confidence in who you are. You're doing great, it's just part of the cycle. Now what do I need to make sure I don't make this mistake again or move? Because if you're not going through that cycle, you're probably redundant anyway. But most people we found over the years of working with them, testing with them, is they get to that point and they say, I feel like a failure. You're not. You are not the business. Your business is the business. You're working on the business as the leader. All you have to do is keep that distance. And people go, but I love my business. I go, you can still love it, but you can't let the bad stuff affect you to your core where you can't move. And I think if there was any advice, is fall in love with who you are in the business and try and be better every day. But just because your business may not be going the way you want, it's a moment in time, not who you are. And I think if you keep that confidence as a leader, it gives you the energy to want to find the solution to things when it gets tricky. And I think once you unlock those really tricky ones, because generally the biggest breakthrough comes at the worst time, because you have to.
And that's when you get to the next level.
It's your moment. It's your moment, and that's the choice, and that's where you get to decide. And I think, you just got to keep your head up. I know that's advice for some people who would be listening going, oh, great, that's wonderful, really insightful. But it's, you got to love the fight, and you got to love being in it, and you got to love the business. And if you don't, it doesn't mean you hate it. You just got to remember why you did it again. So take a step back, breathe, get back in the ring.
And there's plenty of ups and downs, and that's the difference in business. A lot of people, if they've never gone into business on their own, you've probably heard it before as well, they think it's easy.
Yeah.
The biggest difference for me, the way I explain it is, you go to work, you get paid. You work for yourself, you have to worry about where the money's coming from. Bottom line, that's what it is. It's who's paying you, where you're getting your clients. So it's a very different kind of like pressure compared to working for someone else. But if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's never going to work. And wearing sort of like the business as your personality is what ends up happening to a lot of businesses, because your work is what you do.
There's a deep psychological, when you get into a deep psychological attachment that we have to work out at different stages of our business, because particularly people who've gone through such a rough or stressful time, if they actually take that away, they actually feel a bit lost. It's a weird psychological thing that happens. So we've always got to remember that you are not your business. You're a custodian of your business. A business is a legal piece of paper. And when you're not here anymore, no one's going to do that. But while you're in it, you get to lead it in the way in which you see the world and your life. So enjoy the privilege of being able to lead that business at that stage, because it is a privilege. Other people are trusting you in your business, your clients, your staff, all this. But you've got to remember that you're choosing this. It hasn't chosen you. So if you're going to do it with a smile on your face. If you're not, maybe this isn't for you. But most of the time it's a little bit of stress. So
it is. The stress never goes away. It's there.
No.
And you're doing it. You've got people who rely on you as well. If you're running a business, like you said, you're employing people, or there's trust from clients. Like you're dealing, you may deal with projects that are bigger than what people spend on a house at times. It's big
100%.
investments, big risk, a lot of people that are relying on you. You're providing for all these families. Like, there's a lot there. So if you're not going to enjoy it, you don't want to put yourself through that.
100%. Like if you think about it and you put too much weight on it, it's like, oh my God, the weight of the world's on my shoulder versus this is exactly where I'm meant to be. This is exactly what we wanted to build. And I'm the person to navigate this. Now, if I can get a little bit of help on the way, wonderful, which is healthy. But,
That's ideal.
but the reality of it is there's enough people out there for those who build to support you. And it's when you open yourself up to a little bit of vulnerability, where you were talking about before, Anthony, is, it's hard to open up to the wrong people. But actually, when you get into the right areas and people talk like this, if I talk to you and say, hey, we're really struggling right now because this, you're not going to sit there and go, geez, Tim's an idiot. You'll sit there and go, I get it, because we've had this experience. So business owners, when they start to be vulnerable together, become powerful. And you'll find the more financially successful actually want to give back more because they remember moving through that. And this is this openness that we all need, because you're not alone and you shouldn't be, but it's a big step for a lot of people who are going through it for the first time.
And if someone's gone through one of your problems before, so if you can learn from them and avoid going through it, that's going to help you just move that one step closer without as much of a headache. And that's half the reason we did the podcast, is how do we help, well, all the reason, actually, not half, is like, how do we help people learn from someone else's mistakes? And a lot of the times you still have to make the mistake to learn, but if you know what they've done, you can get out of it quicker.
Yeah, we're the same, Anthony. I'm back. We've got a free version for one reason, because I want to make sure people always, if they need help, can be around others that will help talk and support, because we need to support each other. We're actually the backbone of the whole economy. Small businesses provide 60 to 70% of jobs globally. They're 55% of the world's GDP. Like, it's an important ecosystem for humanity.
Yep.
But they're the ones with the least support. And so we've got to help each other out. And so we're the same thing. You did the podcast, you're getting your message out, and it's a privilege to be here. For us, it's free. Get on the platform. If you use nothing else, at least be connected. So at that one time you need it, you can reach out, you can ask, you can connect with like-minded, you can, do the right things, because in the end of the day, we're people doing our best, and we want to be around more of those.
Yeah. And then that's an important message for everyone to get.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, it's been a pleasure having you on today. If anyone wants to find out more about yourself or Backable, how can they do that?
Yeah, Backable.ai. You can sign up. As I said, it's free. It's a community. You get this amazing mind. You can try it. If you don't like it, stay, play, do all the fun things in it. But equally, it's we're here to help business owners with as much as we can. So we hope that we hope people enjoy it. We love the feedback. But again, to you, Anthony, thank you, because you're amplifying messages. You're amplifying important things that it is. No, but it's this resonates, because for that one person there who needs that bit of support, that one person there who just needs a little bit, you got this, you can do this. This is an experience. It's normal. It's important at those moments, and you never realize the impact. So honestly, well done. Thanks for having me on. It's been really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And yeah, we'll add all that to the show notes and let everyone reach out if they ever need you.
Amazing. Look forward to catching up.
All right. Bye.
Right. See you, Anthony.